order. First of all, everybody's noticed that we are taping this or filming this so the public can view it at their will. Roll call, please, Melissa.
Steve Brunner.
Here.
John Woodward.
Here.
Fred Mogul.
Here.
Jen Reimer. Here. And Bill Jenks.
Here. They sound good. At this point, the agenda calls for public comment.
Hi, thank you again, Leslie Turner, 1400 Dauphin, here for the usual, the cat report. 2 more cats were trapped last week, taken to the ARL. We still have 3 more that are wandering the neighborhood. We had a situation last week where neighbors were reporting some yelling activity and possibly a cat got thrown out of a window at the address that we've been talking about. So we need to have some kind of ARL help. The verbiage that we have when we interact with the resident is inflammatory. After I talked to the ARL about some of the language that was used, that we're mutilating the cats, she's also admitting that these are her cats. Whereas when we went to court last time, I think you'll agree, she denied that the cats are hers. So now that with the rabies situation, we're really concerned. That's why we did this, to try to prevent that. If we have unvaccinated, unneutered cats wandering the neighborhood, that's going to undo everything that we did. So far, we're up to 21 cats now have been TVNR'd. 5 were adopted out. They were young enough to be socialized. But we're adding 2 more cats to the colony, so that restarts our 10-year commitment, which was 2023 to 2033. Now we have to stretch that out to 2035. It does cost us $3,000 a year to feed the cats that we have. We need help. We cannot be adding more cats. So,
Steve, do you want me to give an update?
Please do.
Okay. Couple of things. I filed new citations last week with Judge Taylor's office. Those are probably only going to go out in the mail to her today, so I know you're going to be out of town. I'll let you know as soon as that hearing date is scheduled, even if you're not able to attend, if any.
I will get back here, however I want.
We do have a investigative report from the ARL that documents name, descriptors, color, gender of the cats that she is claiming are hers, so we have that for the record going forward. I have a meeting set up with Ashley Milpeski from the ARL to talk about a whole host of things, this being one of the topics on, I think it's September 30th. I know you had asked if you could attend that meeting. I don't know that that's appropriate at this time because this is not the only thing that we're talking about, but I can certainly follow up with you after the fact. In talking extensively about this issue with Michelle Mayfield from Chris's office, I think the biggest missing piece we need to resolve is there was a court-appointed guardian at one point in time that passed away several years ago, and for whatever reason, a flaw in the justice system, a new court-appointed guardian was never appointed. I don't know how that ball gets dropped. To me, if there's a guardian, when that person ceases to exist, there needs to be a new one if there's justification to have one in the first place. I did talk to Judge Taylor very high level about that when I was at his courtroom last week. He suggested, and Michelle already knows this, we talked about it on the phone on Friday, following up with whoever the judge was that issued that requirement, have a court-appointed guardian, or whoever the attorney was that was part of that process, circling back to them to see if we can start that process over. He also suggested we talk to supportive concepts for families, that they may be able to get involved since the Office of Aging has effectively done nothing. But to me, if she has somebody that's watching her and coming in and helping her take care of things, that's going to stop the problem before it goes anywhere.
So the citations, what do we gain, assuming that they find?
I would ask for any, I mean, kind of the same thing as last time. Not only, the point is not citations, the point is compliance, but also that he potentially, Judge Taylor, issue her to have to pay restitution to the people who are taking care of the colony and paying for the food.
And again, we would give that up if she would agree to some help. Just having somebody come in once a week. I mean, my goal is not to take a mentally ill person and, burden her with financial problems that could cause her to lose her home. That's the last thing, and I will march against that. Like, she's mentally ill, and I respect that. I want her to live independently, but she needs help and she doesn't want it, and that's what's so hard. When you continue to violate ordinances, that to me should rise to the level of you need some help and oversight. And just for the opposite, if they have been involved. When her guardian died, she was absent from her home for at least 6 weeks. She was hospitalized, and they got involved then. And when I called them, she said, "Don't quote me on this, but I have a file 5 miles thick on her, on this particular person." Again, we're being videotaped. I don't want to call to her. But, if you have a file, it's a problem. How are you not involved in this? That isn't, they should be mandated to be part of this. I don't understand how you can have a file on someone who's needed help in the past and you just delegate or relinquish your responsibility. That's ridiculous. Right there with you.
We feel your pain. It's humiliating, to be honest with you, but gotta get something done. But hopefully this is the first step to get something done, and she'll have another court-appointed person, and we'll all get to what our goal will hopefully be.
And I don't want to hear that, the biggest option is to fine her into oblivion where she can't afford the fines and then she has to go to jail. That is not a solution either. Like, there has to be a middle ground where she gets help, even if she doesn't want it, and that the whole neighborhood is safe from this legacy.
It's the underlying circumstances that need to be addressed first and foremost.
Should I go see Judy Schwank? I mean, is she able to help with this? Like, I feel like our laws or our ordinances or something is missing here in laws that don't allow for something to be done about this.
So the feral cat caregiver ordinance that we adopted last September, the ARL has a copy of that. That's one of the things we're gonna talk through if they have any additional suggestions as to other regulations we could potentially put in place. That ordinance was drafted with the help of the ARL and no nonsense neutering. So I don't think much is going to come out of that. Chris, I know you've dealt with this issue in other communities, and Jan and I both took place in a webinar last year that the ARL gave on feral cat communities, and it's an exploding problem, not just here, throughout the county. Yes, well, yes, I mean,
Why?
I was narrowing it on Berks County specifically, but I think the stat from that was one pregnant cat leads to, it was like an astronomical number of like 200,000 cats in the lifespan of that one singular female cat.
It's exponential.
Yeah.
Maybe you can quadruple the size of a colony when they're not. Thankfully, we caught the mom, so we had 2 toms and 1 kitten. She appears to be giving them away. We've had neighbors who walk the neighborhood, have seen her interact with people, physically giving them. I said, "Oh man, I wish you had a picture of that." But I'm trying to keep it low key as well, because something you have to understand is when you get involved in anything with animals, you have both sides of the spectrum. You have people who want to kill the animals, and you have people who, "Oh my God, don't touch the animals, leave them, they're precious." You have these, so you're trying to navigate this in the neighborhood, and you become a target. We have the 3 of us who are maintaining the colony have become, I wouldn't say they rise to the level of threats, but they feel threatening, that we realize we have to be careful. Because we thought we'd go to the newspaper, maybe have a little article posted, and we realized, people will come and target the cats or potentially us if we bring too much attention. So
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
what was that?
That's not a good idea to do.
It's
You're
not
just
good.
putting yourself in potential harm's way.
Yeah, I've been warned by the Humane Society, the vet that we work with for the TVNR, they've all said the same thing, keep it as under the radar as you can. So I want to also reiterate how much we appreciate, I've tried to explain to the neighbors how difficult this is. And I really appreciate you taking it seriously. From day one, you've been on our side. We really, really appreciate everything that you're doing.
Do we know the name of the deceased guardian?
Your office, I thought, had found that.
I wasn't aware that we
I sent
did.
you, with his brother. I found the person who died. I don't remember at the time, but I have an email that I sent to you with his name, and then he has a brother in Kutztown. Because I found the obituary from the.
Do you have that information, Michelle? Okay, forward that to me, but I wasn't aware that we had identified that person, but if we had, that's great.
So you mentioned this agreement you've had or have till 2033, that's now 2035. What if you and the other two people didn't exist? I mean,
There'd be a problem. I'd have to, obviously I would communicate if I move, that's what, which is a distinct possibility. My contribution is an online, I have an account with Chewy, and my food gets delivered to the person who manages the feeding station. So that will not continue either, that will still continue even if I move away. Because I've committed to this for 10 years, now 12, because we have 2 more cats and one of them is a kitten. So the average life expectancy of a well-maintained feral cat is 10 years. So that's why I'm saying that, but they could die earlier, just whenever, we're gonna keep feeding them.
so this commitment you have, it's just verbal, it's not.
Well, it's what you sign up for when you do TVNR.
Is it part of the
It's
ordinance?
part of the agreement that you have with the people, they do TVNR and we have this colony that the ARL is aware of. They know that we are taking care of the colony. They don't supervise it. But that's another thing they told me when I dropped the 2 cats off last week. They said, we only have 2 animal control officers. So that's a problem for all of Brooks County. So they actually suggested, and I forgot about this, they suggested getting the animal warden involved. Is there a warden for?
That's circling into another, it's not here, I mean, that would be state or county assigned, that's not a borough position or
honestly
employee.
I think we need a committee of people who deal with this, this is a lot for all of you to deal with, it's time consuming. I don't know if there needs to be a little more oversight for this, because I'm concerned, apparently there's 3 feeding stations. I didn't know about the other 2 until recently. So obviously it's not just a problem with our block, it must be happening in other blocks. I'm so overwhelmed with what we have going on, I haven't really investigated. But I know in downtown Reading, some of the people that I've met when they show up to TVNR cats, they're dealing with 90 and 100 cats per block down in Reading. So this is where this balloons into if it's not dealt with. So maybe it's time to talk about having some kind of animal control for Wyomissing.
Aren't there any predators for these cats?
They're pretty territorial, and the good news is when you have a well-made, small, manageable colony, they can actually play a role in preventing rabid animals coming into your neighborhood. So they will attack raccoons, they'll attack other cats and chase them away. The problem with our colony is it's not 100% fair. So Lisa does interact with the cats, so they get a little bit socialized. So that's what they hang around because she feeds them, and so they start to get used to the colony. The colony doesn't, necessarily repel her cats because she's also feeding everybody. So that helps them not be repelled. So if Lisa needs to stop feeding the cats that she claims are not hers, but she feeds them, but not on a regular basis because that's why they were sickly, they're not vaccinated. So if you don't, so we're making sure that they get 2 meals a day and they're healthy. And she feeds them intermittently. So, we were having dead birds all over the place, dead squirrels. It just, now that we're feeding them, we don't have that, ecosystem imbalance anymore. But you can't pet them, they come up to the feeding station for the food, but if you show up on the porch where they get their food, they will take off. But they're They don't, you know, they're truly feral, they won't even come up on your porch. So they're sort of half and half, if that makes any sense. But she has to stop adding cats to the colony. We can't afford to feed anymore. The TVNR is expensive, microchipping them, and if you can imagine 13 cats showing up at your front door every day to get fed twice, it's a burden.
All right. Well, I guess the next step is to in front of the judge, see if there's anything else we can add to that meet to the ordinance. I don't have a whole lot of hope for that since they helped us design the ordinance in the first place, but
I heard talk about it.
can't hurt to find out. Anything else, Chris?
No, I'm curious if they have any other ideas, because the regulations that we have are about the best that we've been able to come up with so far.
We feel your pain, so we're so sorry. Okay. All right, moving on to the zoning codes report.
So crossing that one off my list. The agreed upon amount of $22,000 for the Annette Redding Studios on Spring payment for legal and engineering invoices was received this morning, as well as a hold harmless agreement. So based off of that, I released certificates of occupancy. Chris, you had a good question about who's recording the agreement. I'm gonna punt that one to Keith and Mike.
Okay. Just make sure we get proof of the recording.
Instrument number, and then I'll download it. Other updates coming out of the codes report, 130 Flower Lane, there was going to be a zoning hearing next Tuesday for that property. That application has been withdrawn, so that hearing is canceled. And update on the Berkshire Mall, I mean, you can talk about the stormwater inspections, but in terms of code violations, the violation notice that was issued for the HVAC system, heat specific, today is for the property maintenance code and the way the borough adopted it. Today's the first date that heat has to be working. So as of today, if the heat is not working in that property, we are going to have some bigger issues in terms of code compliance, and Jeff is aware of that.
Jeff Ho. I know Jeff was heading over there for fire inspection. So
I think
we should
he's going to check
do
on,
both?
Yeah.
Okay.
you wanna give an update on the stormwater?
Sure. The first pipe run that they opened up is replaced entirely because they couldn't attach to good pipe, which was kind of a concern we had when they were proposing patch repair. So the first run's completed from inlet to inlet, all new pipe. They're currently working on the second run, but it's been slow going because of the pipe material, the old pipe, basically collapsing on them as they're trying to work around it and dig around it. So I think they'll end up replacing more than they have called out on the plans just to get the work done. We are happy with the contractor they have out there. He is doing the work correctly and knows what he's doing. The owner of the company was a Pennsylvania Turnpike inspector who inspected 12 years of replacing CMP pipe with high density polyethylene pipe. So he's well aware of all the problems.
What product was the old one and what is the new? Just curious.
Steel corrugated metal pipe is the old, the new is high density polyethylene smooth lined. But it's just going slow, and then he expressed some concern to us this morning that he's not sure he's gonna get paid for the extra pipe, but I
Problem, not ours.
said, hopefully your client will pay you for the extra pipe you put in. They had thrown out that they were looking to reconsider during the 11-month process of the storm permit. They were proposing to reline the pipes like we've done some of our sanitary means. It's very, very expensive to do. We do it a lot because of other utilities and active roads. I mean, they're in a closed parking lot. So I reminded them when they brought that up that the end date of completion is not moving, and that I did not expect the council to give them an extension to, in the middle of the project, change the way they're planning on doing it when they had 11 months to figure that out.
That would also be up to Judge Peterman, because that 22-week time period is for court order.
So as of today, Jamal was on site. I talked to Sean this morning, and he said that they have stopped looking at relining because of the timeline not moving. And his thought was, he was thinking they were actually looking to delay completion. So the work the contractor is doing is quality work, and we are very satisfied with the actual work they're completing.
Minimal progress, right?
And before they, we discussed at the pre-construction meeting that once they had all the pipe done within one fenced-in area, the craft would have to go out and do a final building inspection of that area where fence would have to come down. And then we would jointly tell them, yes, it's okay to remove this section of fence.
Do you have any,
Lining or
They're,
anything?
they're open trench replacement.
do you have any, percentage of completion that we could associate with their progress? I mean, are we 1%
We
done?
did 54 feet of 2,700.
Okay, so it's a very small amount.
Sounds like 1% to me.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
Maybe
like
4.
2%.
4%.
It's a very small amount. They did saw cut, get in there in the beginning and saw cut the entire trench, both sides. So that's all done. So they can, as they proceed, they can just keep going down the pipe. Runs. But hopefully next month we'll have a solid month of them working and they'll be significantly further along.
Did you learn anything new from this so-called reading in the report whistleblower?
No. No.
Nothing that we didn't
I
already know.
actually talked to her before Jeff did, and I'm like, you're not telling me anything we didn't already know.
Okay, good. I just thought, don't tell me there's more stuff.
She's a relative of one of the former on-site property managers, so I don't know, she thought she had, I mean, she was complaining as recently as 3 weeks ago, Joe, about there still being mold in the bonton, and I'm like, we've walked through that space, like, your information is dated and then some, so, thank you, but there's nothing
Well,
helpful.
that's good.
And then Berkshire Square, or Berkshire Commons, hold on.
Square.
Everyone knows they had that inlet collapse back a few months ago by the fitness center. They are voluntarily have put a permit in to replace all of their metal piping on the property.
Taking some responsibility.
Yeah, voluntarily.
Is that all ancient stuff or is it some of it new?
Well, then about, was it about 2017 or 18, they replaced, the borough had it required them to televise the lines because it kept having sinkholes along State Hill Road and in their driveway. They replaced probably a quarter of their pipe at that time, and now they're just replacing it all. They put a permit in to get that and just do it.
Fantastic. Okay, any other questions for the zoning codes report?
Yeah, I got some. Start with 40 Cedar Wood.
Final NOV went, not eligible for the blighted property review committee because it's not, taxes are paid, utility bills are paid, it doesn't qualify. Jeff was trying to go back and find contact information. There was a daughter. Nobody's living in the property at this point. The two owners, one is deceased, the other is in a long-term care facility. Jeff from Kraft was trying to get a hold of the daughter that was his point of contact last year when some things were starting to move forward. So new NOV was issued. We're gonna end up filing citations, which isn't gonna resolve anything. I think that's one, Chris, we're eventually gonna have to talk about an injunction.
It's been going on since 2021.
It's actually been going on longer than that. As long as I've been here, I've been dealing
You
with
know.
that property in some capacity.
So I guess what I'm saying is, some of these properties, we gotta stop being nice people.
I don't think we're being
And
nice people with any of them, but there is a legal process we
I
have.
understand, but we need to get a little bit more direct than in the legal process. And I'll say the same about 524 Douglas.
So that, there was an already approved settlement agreement. Jeff and I met with Michelle Mayfield twice, and she had a conversation with that property owner's attorney last Monday. The time period from that settlement agreement expired, I think about 45 days ago. Jeff was gonna go out, and I think he did last Monday, sent Michelle follow-up pictures, and Michelle was gonna relay to the attorney for the property owner what remained to be done and make clear he has until the end of September to get this done, or we're going back to square one.
1703 Palmer. That is now, the shrubbery is now, I don't think you can even get to the front door. Everything's grown shut.
I don't
Having
think so.
Clayton.
Maybe,
Or
actually, now that
Clayton's-
you say that.
Go on
Shrubbery,
Clayton.
because shrubbery is not a code
First row,
violation.
right,
Grass and
one
weeds
block.
are,
Okay, even though it's covering the entire front of the house.
doesn't matter.
Okay, well,
And I'm 99% sure I had Deeble take care of that one and add it to their.
it's been cut a few
Okay,
times.
okay.
Yeah, but
That's-
the shrubbery, no, that, and there is like hanging, I don't know whether it's siding or a piece of wood hanging off the roof along, on Clayton Avenue side, so that needs to be taken a good hard look at, not just the weeds. And lastly, and the worst one, 1306 Penn.
So we've taken every action we possibly can. That is under the Blighted Property Review Committee, and that's part of next Tuesday's hearing. New person bought it, obviously took all the trees down. My understanding is he intends to submit a zoning hearing board application to demolish the structure and put in 4 semis, which he'd need zoning hearing board relief for. Have yet to actually see an application or a plan to do that, but that's where he's indicated that he's heading.
Terrific. Okay, thanks.
Anything else for the zoning codes report? All right, moving on, Fourth and Only Pump Station, and a new for,
I can't open emails, they print it out.
Oh.
I can't open emails.
Jim's gonna be putting some estimates together for our budget to move the Fourth and Only pump station.
Yeah, essentially move it up the hill.
It'll be a 2026 budget item.
Yeah, we actually have some numbers on that. It's 365,000 if we can use an 8-foot wet well and we don't need a new generator. If we need a new generator and an 8-foot wet well, and I'm sorry, go from an 8 to a 12-foot wet well, it would go from 365 to 515. And then the thought was, and we wanted to talk to infrastructure, and obviously the pumps and controls that are in the Fourth and Only pump station now are new. So our thought was, if we move forward and relocate the Fourth and Only pump station, take all the pumps and controls out of Fourth and Only and put them in Wynwood, where they're 30 years old. Because we were going to move forward with redesigning and putting out the bid Wynwood, but it could be a significant cost savings if we can move all that equipment that's new over there rather than just get rid of it. We would be putting this kind of pump in Fourth and Only, where the motor is contained in the pump and the pump is submerged. This is what we did at Berkshire Boulevard pump station. In theory, the station could under 10 feet of water, this pump's going to keep running. It can't get damaged by water. It's made to be submerged. And then the fact that we move all the electric service and the controls for the pump up the hill 10 feet higher, it won't get, even if that culvert gets blocked and floods again going under the railroad, we won't have all that water damaging and shorting everything out in the pump station. We think it's a better solution. We think that's a better solution regardless whether we move the station or not, if it happened again, but obviously moving it all kind of gives us a belt and suspenders approach on it, because that culvert under the railroad is 3.5 feet by 5.5 feet. And then at some point they choked it down with a metal pipe. It was 33 feet, 30-inch pipe.
30-inch, I think it was.
So the pipe that sticks out has about a quarter of the capacity of the culvert. So I don't know why whenever that happened historically, we think it was when they did the highway improvements in North Wyomissing and all that something got changed over there. Whether PennDOT did it. We even talked to Ken Fulmer, he didn't remember anything about it. So, I mean, that's the one problem, but it's not just simple because we have to go in the railroad right away to mess with that. And then we, as we were talking more about everything, we came up with the idea that maybe this is a more, long-term, flood-proof situation, because we still could have a storm that flooded, was over the capacity of that culvert and backed up, even if we fixed what was done down there. There's no guarantees.
Add it to the budget, see what happens.
And we do have, and for the both, I mean, kind of at this point, they're intermingled, but we have the 175,000 that was paid for by Boiler House and Windsor Townhouses and Palmer to use towards upgrading either Wynwood or Fourth and Only, so. At least part of the budget is covered, Steve, for
Part of the 365 minimum.
right.
Got it.
Like a 90 short.
Just minor add-on. Okay, anything else?
No, that's all we had on that.
Okay. Moving on, Western Berks Water Authority, is there anything new about the pipe?
I consider this to be in Western Berks's hands at this point.
Agreed. I mean, I think we all walked away from that meeting with Rawa very clear on Rawa's position.
I mean, I think we can continue to ask Western Berks for updates, but I don't think it's for us to be chasing Rawa, at least at this point.
Okay, so can we table this and then take it off the agenda after this?
At least that last two bullet points, yes.
Right. Yeah. So I'll make a motion to table ownership suggestions, ownership suggestions as discussed by the committee.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, that'll come off. Sanitary sewer,
The West Lawn Interceptor contractor hasn't started yet. We had a minor redesign that might push it back a few weeks, but I would hope in the next 3 weeks, maybe. They would start that. Does that affect the borough at all with the redesign? No, just affects the manhole elevations, so they have to, before they order the manholes, they have to make sure it works. There is a payment application number 1.
and then we have payment application number 1 from JNS Paving and Excavating Corp. in the amount of $27,900. I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve.
Second.
Give a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We'll pass that on to council. Wynwood Pump Station upgrades. Anything new?
Well, that was just,
Just the same thing.
we plan to move forward with Fourth and Only, we recommend moving all that to Wynwood and save the.
When were we planning on putting the Wynwood one in the budget?
Well, they would be one and the same. This would all be 2026.
When were we planning on putting?
Oh, I don't know if there was a hard date, but in the next few years, yeah.
So for a minimum of $190,000, we could take care of 2 plus some extra expense to transfer the stuff.
No, that one, the 365 doesn't include moving the stuff to Wynwood.
Right.
That's 200 more or 325 more. So like the base we did both together is 500.
Oh, okay, so that number you gave me, the first number was just the one, the second number is if we move it over. Got
So
it.
if the base number for Fourth and Always 365,000.
Right. The 575 is,
The 515 was if we were adding
in my writing.
a new generator and a bigger wet well. We think we can use the existing generator. And if not, we would move the existing generator to Wynwood.
Okay.
We're gonna move it anyway because it's down where it floods. We have to get that up the hill too. Wynwood, we're estimating 200,000 because we have to build a building and move all the equipment over. And if we had to buy a generator for Wynwood, then it would be 125 more for a generator for Wynwood. So 325 for Wynwood and 365 for Fourth and Only, I think are good numbers to use, the budget at this point. So I think we need a generator somewhere. There's not one at Wynwood now.
Fourth and Only has a generator, but it gets flooded. Wynwood does not have a generator, it just has a gas-fired.
Direct drive motor.
Can't wait for the budget. It'll be fun. All right, anything else for sanitary sewer? All right, moving on to streets. We have a payment application, anything else? For the first part?
50/50 has not started yet. Should shortly. Nothing new on Dolphin Avenue. Speaking of budget, I have that item E in there, just a first blush at what Greg and I have put together for the proposed streets for next year.
Hold on, back up. They need to take action on the payout.
And we'll do the payout. All right, so we have payment application number one from Construction Master Services LLC in the amount of $121,022.33. I assume there was nothing out of the ordinary on that, so
No.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Move it on to council. Street work, 26 street work. You want to talk about that?
I think we can bring it up here.
Is that what these are?
No, that's for later on.
The part of
It's
the
just
details?
it's right there, yeah. 1.4 up till last year, 1.4 was kind of our typical street number, so this fits in with that. And we'll be putting this in the budget for yays or nays.
Did we ever get the people who live on,
Buckingham,
no,
Dolphin, where the trees are coming down?
no, Buckingham's a good question. No, the private road.
Oh, hi, Flowers.
Flowers, did you give them a number or what it would think to cost them to do it?
I thought I forwarded something to you, pretty sure. I did, I think my rough number for me was 100, like 100, 135 grand, something like that.
Good enough.
100 plus.
It's a private road. We plow it. They're gonna
It's
have to-
falling apart, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Just one other thing
We
with,
did talk, Jen brought up a good point. Buckingham was talked about 2 years ago. We cut it off and I think we cut it out again last year. Is there a reason it's not on?
because I was with the impression that, from somebody in this group, that the residents or somebody didn't want it done. It should be on here, but when we had it on, I was feeling resistant, so I didn't put it back on. But it should be on here, yes.
We know what that number would be.
It's not a big number. I would say 100 grand kind of number.
A little number. It's a small number. So they will say like 8.
We
Why
can
don't you
add to
that
it and then discuss
We
it.
can figure out what we want to do moving forward. I'll talk to the 2 or 3 people I know on that street and see what they say. Okay.
The only other thing with streets, it's not on there, I just want to add it, for MS4, kind of street related, we submitted to DEP our annual report we have to do every year, and Jim's office will be working on a renewal. Our current permit runs out at the end of this year.
No,
Or middle of next
runs out
year.
in June, but we have to
Next
apply
year.
by December 31st.
All right. Anything else? Anybody have any questions for streets? Water?
Final payment application.
Yep. Nothing else? Okay. So we have a payment application, change order number 1 to, sorry.
That was just to rectify all the quantities from bid versus actual bill.
Okay, so we need a motion to send to council to change order number 1 to council for final quantity adjustments of about $1,460. I'll make the motion to go ahead and approve that one, the Holy Street.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes. Any opposed? Sorry, the ayes have it. Then we have payment application number 2 to KBC Construction LLC in the amount of $17,750.90. Assuming there's nothing off on the budget.
It was slightly over mainly, and there was one reason, PennDOT made us, instead of trench restoration on Park Road, made us pave the intersection. So there was a little bit of added cost, but it wasn't, it went as.
Like $100,000, obviously not.
I forget the exact number,
Okay.
but it was above what we had planned on.
I'll make a motion to approve, recommending to council payment application number 2 of $17,715.90 to KBC Construction LLC.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Administration and Police Department study needs.
No update other than, our RAC key application for next year will be going in the next week or so, and we're once again applying for funding for this.
Okay.
Ask a question.
Go ahead.
Under item 11, the appraisal for 1235 Penn Avenue. We've been appraising that for the last 8 months.
That's old, that's been on the agenda for 8 months.
1,000 years now.
So do we have an answer?
And we got the appraisal and discussed it months ago. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but it's no longer available.
All right, so this is just.
We can take it off. Take it off.
All right. 10 minutes reading.
Stonehouse project. Stonehouse Park project.
Waiting for a couple of punch list items to make this go away.
Good to make the agenda smaller. Where do we stand with the Berkshire Heights Playground?
They're actually moving some dirt today. So it has started. I don't think we need a change order, but just to make you aware, it's within Michelle's parameters. There's a handicap parking area going in and a blacktop trail up to this new playground equipment area. And it's shown as 5 foot wide, but after some discussion, we'd like to make it 8 foot wide. So we can get our trucks there if we have to do the mulch or other maintenance items. I believe the
55.
Grant or the loan, we have more money in
We were
that.
slightly under budget, and it's a cost of $5,500, so we should be fine in terms of not exceeding grant funding.
Okay. That's the important part. Okay.
So when you drive down the hill there, and you get to the bottom of the hill, there's that field there, what do they use that for, anything? T-ball?
They use it for their real little rugrats.
That's it. It didn't look like it.
No, it's
That
not.
makes
It's not
sense.
much. Yeah. What they should do is put a bike rack up so you can lock each kid into a spot so they don't get hit by a bat. One of the horrifying things of coaching little league T-ball. Not T-ball. What's that called? Yeah, T-ball. T-ball. All right. Parkland study.
Biggest update on this is the Rotary Volunteer Day will officially be held October 11th. Jen, myself, Larry Lloyd, and Terry Reed from the Rotary met on Friday at the Parks Barn just to kind of confirm the schedule. Trees will be dropped off at the Parks Barn October 7th. The park staff will auger the holes on the 10th, plant on the 11th, and there's 44 trees that are going to be planted that day between, I'm going to say the Cambridge side and the more old Wyomissing Road side. You can follow that.
Great. Anything else for the Parkland study?
Jen, do you have anything you want to add?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I could mention that on Saturday, we did a cleanup in the pine in the Enchanted Forest area. I had like 8 people with me, and we made a pretty big dent, picking up debris, tearing down shelters, trying to alleviate some of the fire hazards that are in there.
Okay. Wyomissing Professional Center with swale project. We have a payment application. Anything else need to be discussed?
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna ask to table that for the time being.
Okay.
It was installed and got washed out with a heavy rainstorm, so Jim and I are working with the contractor to remedy that.
So I'll make a motion to table recommending council payment application number 1 to Construction Master Services LLC in the amount of $22,457.05.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Lead rule update.
Nothing major. We have whittled a few of our 600-plus unknowns down to 585. We have to send out letters here before the end of October, I think, to those 585, letting them know that we don't know what kind of pipe they have yet.
And how do we find of this 585 go in the house?
We're starting to talk about this next phase for us internally. A lot of it is going to be, A, getting in the house, and B, digging with a back truck a small hole in the front yard, like maybe a 10-inch diameter hole, to get down to the pipe to verify its size. It's that ridiculous.
Sure. Everybody.
We have time, we have
Everybody
years,
wonders
but that's the next step in the process.
Is there a spot that seems to be more concentrated in than others?
Reading Boulevard, I don't have any record of the water main in Reading Boulevard from Penn out to maybe the 1500 block. There's just no information, so we don't know what the service lines are there because we've never replaced the pipe. It never gives us any problem either. We haven't had a water main break on that pipe in 30 years. Other than that, Berkshire Heights, there's a lack of information in the Berkshire Heights area.
Okay. PennDOT grant.
I can give the backstory on this. John, you'll remember back in 2019, we went to PennDOT and DCED to ask for funding for 4th Street. Because of COVID, what we thought was a $4 million project, we got the 2 through DCED. PennDOT came back and said, here's $633,000. We said, thank you. However, we're fully funded. Can we swap this money to the Ped Bridge and the Cambridge Culvert? So they approved, PennDOT approved that. We did those 2 projects. Long story short, we still have a balance of almost $300,000 that we don't just want to give back to PennDOT. So we've gone back and had initial conversations with the PennDOT grant analyst about further extending the scope of work, which it sounds like there is agreement to do. Wayne Avenue, there's a small stormwater project, would be part of that. The Woodland Plaza storm pipe relining, PennDOT has effectively said they'll consider because it ties into the same overall storm basin. I think that's what, 109,000? The cost for that one? They could just gotten a cost
Yeah, it
estimate.
was 120, I thought, but maybe it's 109.
And then the Wyoming Avenue stormwater improvement, we were potentially talking about because that came up at this meeting.
That's mislabeled. It's not Wyoming, it's
Forest, isn't it?
Forest.
Yeah, I think it'd be fine.
Yeah, correct. So Nick from Jim's office worked with Corey from Econ Partners, our grant writer, to put together a summary narrative with cost estimates for can we use that remaining balance towards these projects instead of just handing it back to PennDOT? And it sounds like the answer is likely going to be yes, but there's a process we have to go through for that.
And what do we expect the time frame on that process?
PennDOT, I mean, who'd have thought?
Sure.
Maybe, I would hope within the next 60 to 90 days.
102,843 was the relining number.
102,
108,243.
I think I said 109.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad.
More done on
project.
money that we have to spend, so be it. Anything on the Warren Street and West Shore lighting?
Yeah. Bill, you've probably forgotten this by now, but in the.
No, I haven't. I just, it's one of those with PennDOT involved, I gave up.
Well,
You know?
our traffic signal and street lighting contractor, Telco, after our conversation, I had them, ask them to look at it and give us an estimate of what's wrong and what it would take to repair it. Drug their feet for months, and they finally said, we don't have the time or manpower to do it. So there's another similar contractor, CM High, who actually went out and did take a look. We could go to the other, is there, yeah, that one. If you see, let me get my notes here. The purple dots have power to, this is street lighting on the West Shore bypass. There's power to the circles that are purple. All they would take is luminaires to make them work again. There's also one or two small issues on the overhead lighting, which is the other, go to the other drawing. Yeah, this is lighting for the overhead lightings that say, hey, 222 south or what have you. One is just luminaires, and one, there is a bad piece of conduit, but it's very short. It should be easily fixable. I'd like to get this low-hanging fruit off the table now. We have money in the budget, so we can afford it out of our regular budget this year. Some of those other items you see labeled as S3, S5, and S1 have no power. So there's something wrong with the conduit, with the wire in the conduit that feeds them, and it would take some investigation on where the problem is at, if they'd have to pull new cable or splice cable. And my take on it is I would put a budget number in for next year to get those things done. But we could get a third to half of those lights up now with probably a $10,000 to $15,000 payout that we have budgeted.
You can't take action because there's not a motion on the agenda, but I could always add it to my report for council. Since it's budgeted, I wouldn't say it has to go through finance.
I think.
Oh, and one other thing too, we're in charge of the maintenance of these, but there is a PennDOT reimbursement agreement where after we spend the money, Phyllis can send something to PennDOT and they will reimburse us 50%.
Let's do that.
Good, I like that.
Oh, we got some progress. All right,
Thanks, Jim.
just make that a item for the council. For facilities updates. As needed.
So now stage. Because transport, natural goods, people and stuff. He gave us the price, I think it was for $27,000 the whole thing. He said, I'm not gonna do this. He said, it's not gonna work. Blacktop, I think it was too far. We had, he recommended somebody from Schlau. Had him come in, and he recommended maybe the rubber liner, but the way we operate is we drain, scrape it, sweep it through it. So that really wouldn't work for us either. So we need to redo the whole thing. We didn't get any numbers. Actually cleaned it all up, and we're crack sealing what we can in-house. They're finishing up today. I think they're gonna do a little bit tomorrow, and then Friday we're gonna fill it halfway and see how it holds. I mean, we didn't spend any money doing it. It kind of seems pointless to throw money at something that needs to be fixed.
Can we agree that we were going to just keep our fingers crossed and maybe when it freezes, that'll seal the leak
I
At
had
least get us through the season?
I had gone back to finance after it was discussed at infrastructure last month. There was idea floated about using bentonite clay to seal it. After finance approved that, that idea got nixed too. So, I mean, again, at this point, we had unbudgeted, agreed to spend 27,000. None of that money's been spent. And even the 4,000 I had reduced it to for the bentonite clay, that hasn't been spent either. I mean, I agree
So
with
my
Greg.
question was, if we fill it up 6 inches to get it to freeze there first, would that work? I have no idea.
Steve from Buildings and Grounds, he runs Buildings and Grounds, he has an idea, it just depends on the weather.
Drill
It's gotta be really cold, I get it.
Drain it.
somehow,
Yeah.
routed to 6 inches underneath it.
Now
Cheaper
freeze.
just to share it.
Right.
Depends how long the weather stays cold, if we can freeze it real quick, that'll seal all the cracks, and we can kind of fill it up and
Well,
go.
why don't we see how this is gonna work on Friday? If it doesn't work on Friday, then we're gonna have to put a notice out to people that we're gonna try to make it work, but it's gonna be harder than normal. And notify people of it ahead of time.
Glad you're getting the price together.
Yeah, you should be. Cause it sounds like you guys are gonna have a great budget here.
He said the blacktop are gone.
Okay. Any other borough facility good news?
I can give an update on the fire
Too big.
station. So
Wreck the-
we're in the process of getting a cost estimate and architectural plans together to flip first floor, second floor, day room, bunk rooms, and kind of where the office space is, and add additional shower bunk rooms which we're gonna need with more staff coming on. I had Meister give me the ballpark cost, because we're gonna be applying for a grant for this. Ballpark cost was 600 to 700. I'm just erring on the side of caution and shooting high at 750,000. I had a strategic conversation with Econ as to the LSA grants, which is the casino money. The LSA grants are open. Those apps are due by the end of September as well. Normally, we would go after Borough Hall and Police Department. In fact, our current app, for which if the CFA ever meets, if the budget gets resolved, that would be what they would be announcing awarding for, would be for the Borough Hall and Police Department. Knowing that this committee's position has been, we're not doing anything with Borough Hall and PD until we have much more extensive grant funding to throw towards that pot of money. I talked to Econ again strategically, would it make sense to go after for next year's round of LSA funding, the fire department? You can ask for up to $1 million. The expectation is we would be slightly short funded, so we're gonna ask for $1 million. Even if we get 500 to 600,000, it is one project that either between the excess funds from refinancing the short-term loan into long-term financing we're sitting on, or we have 300,000 left from the first round of RACP for public works, we could put that towards any funding that we get and actually have one project we complete from start to finish all at once from a facilities needs point. So that's the route that we're going, stay tuned. But Greg and I, and to add to that, Greg and I agreed at the very least, there's 100 to 200,000 of work that has to get done to that station next year, and it's because of structural or weatherproofing.
Is that part of the funding?
It will be, but the point being, whether we get the funding or not, that has to get done.
You guys are full of good news today.
Yeah, to add to the maintenance and the things, we do need to start putting money in the buildings, if we're gonna end up with disrepair.
I agree. I agree.
So hopefully we could get the fire station taken care of for little to nothing. That's the hope.
That's the hope. That's what was the reality. All right, any other borough facility good news?
That's enough.
The circle's looking good.
Insurance money. Not our insurance money.
Bonus? I've heard not one thing about it though, from a person.
Really?
Except for my wife, who said, what the hell we spending all that money for?
Not, that was a refreshment, that was a deep I drove through the center of the circle and took out a lot of stuff.
Stuff. No, I think we're making good use of the money.
Yeah, it looks great, I think.
One point I'd like to ask about. I've had a number of people talk about the circle, looks good. But is there some intention to drop the size of the trees that are going up against the Christmas tree? Because it looks like in another year, they'll be taller than the Christmas tree.
We have plans for this coming year. So keep working.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions on borough facilities? Assume that's a facility, that word. That's a facility. All right, hearing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second. Motion is second. Meeting adjourned.